Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jacob with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. So Juan Savin will be joining us in a little bit. And so we're going to be talking about Venezuela airspace basically being penetrated by F-18 Hornets. Uh, Probably because I heard him talking about it on Nino's show because he sent out a text to a bunch of us. Nino wanted to jump right on with him, but uh, probably get some more insights from Juan maybe on this. So I think that this is probably they're supporting special forces movement within Venezuela. That's what and the tier one guys usually get the big jets like that, and they can move on a dime. They can travel anywhere on Venezuela in seconds, right? So they're in the Gulf of Venezuela, and it's I'll pull up the screen so you guys can see that. But it is I think it's very interesting. We're getting to see exactly what's going on. So here's the Gulf right there. I didn't it like went there very quickly, right? So uh now if you look out here, here's Aruba. I was in Aruba, I guess about 3 years ago, with a LifeWave event. So it's right off the coast of Venezuela. And so Caribbean, right there in the Caribbean. So here is the Gulf of Venezuela, where that little red dot is. So somewhere in here possibly is where Maduro is. So if Maduro is within that area, then we're probably got special forces groups trying to get him, right? And they're probably really close to actually acquiring him. So F-18s, like I said, pretty high speed jet, can bring a lot of missiles and so forth to bear very quickly. So it'd be very devastating if they actually got involved. So very interesting time. Very interesting, what's going on with Venezuela, Maduro, and all that kind of stuff. So uh, we'll just have to keep our eye on this and see, where it goes. So um, F-18s. Let me pull up real quick what that what the background on that. And you guys might remember I said that I thought that they were going to send Trump would probably go into Colombia, Mexico, maybe even Brazil. So the Daily Mail right now has Trump sends shockwaves through Latin America as he hints two more nations are in his sights for a Venezuela-style crackdown. Trump did not rule out expanding U.S. military operation beyond Venezuela to Mexico and Colombia. So we're going after the cartels. The cartels are running a lot of the Democrat cities and states. One of those being, of course, Colorado. Colorado did not want Trump to be in the most recent 2024 election. Remember that? There were a lot of states where like they were going to disqualify him because he was involved in J6. And so that didn't work out so good. All right. Supreme Court said, naughty, naughty. You can't do that, you little corrupt state, you bad governor, you. So it is, of course, we have Tina Peters there because she exposed the Dominion voting machine manipulation that happened in Colorado. So they put her in prison for, helping out the people of Colorado and the people of America and really the world overall, because there's 72 different countries that have been manipulated through Dominion voting machine fraud. All right. So the fraud goes far. And we'll probably see not only will we go into Venezuela to basically get Maduro and the cartels out of there, and Mexico and Colombia and probably Brazil, but also we're going in there to expose the voting fraud. And that leads back to Colorado, back to Tina Peters, right? So it's going to be very interesting going forward. And if we don't see resolution, I think by I don't know, early part of next year, it's not going to make for a very good July 4th celebration in 2026, which is the 250th anniversary of independence from Britain. Of course, Juan has actually talked about how we're still pretty much at war with Britain. Britain is still controlling things, and this is about basically breaking free from Britain. Oh, that's a beautiful blanket there, Juan.
Oh yeah, yeah. We love that, man.
Oh, look, you don't
I'm
have
even
boots
wearing
on?
my Megador shorts, man.
Nice, nice. That's the
Oh,
first
I
time I
have
see
fun
you
at
with
the
that boots
pool.
on.
Well, Mrs. Savin gets a little animated when I track sand in from outside in my shoes. So I'm
Oh, okay.
not wearing my boots or my shoes right now to save my life. Otherwise, I'll be scrubbing the floors on my hands and knees with a
So I'm
toothbrush.
holding up my Juan blanket too. Yeah,
Well,
Magador.
it is Japanese style too, by the way, just so I know. Oh my gosh.
Very nice. Looks like a little tropical location there. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, we got the trees outside and all that. Yeah, so I'll go out and show the beach in a little bit here. I was just
Oh
cooling
yeah.
down for a minute. Boy, what's going on? Oh my gosh! If people, yeah, it's busting loose right this second. Just so you know.
Yeah, FA-18 Super Hornets over the Gulf of Venezuela. That's
Well,
pretty
and
cool.
what they did is they were top cover while they were bringing out the real president of Venezuela, uh, uh, Maria Machado, and Maduro. Needs to be in fear because we got her out of the way, so she's safe. And now other fun and exciting things can begin to happen there, believe you me. So she was exfiltrated. If anybody so much as passed gas, those Super Hornets would have. I know those guys were all excited, ready to do some fireworks. I can guarantee you that.
Oh yeah.
When they were out there, by the way, so they brought their airspeed down to about 205,
Woo.
and they were just, that's like, these are bricks, okay? You can only go so slow in them, and they're out there at 205, just hanging where they can be seen off in the distance, waiting for anything to happen, and those things, should they go vertical, they got so much thrust, but they could change zip codes in seconds. So, yeah, it would have been fairly dramatic, and probably will be before this is over at this point.
Yeah. So I was just telling the audience that with those jets out there like that, sounds like back in the old days when I was in SEAL Team 6 and we had air cover for operations we were doing. So I figured maybe there was something going on out there. So Venezuela's Maria Machado, she's the Nobel Peace Prize winner and opposition to Maduro. So that's and she even said that this belongs to Trump. That was very generous of her, but this is very interesting. She could be the next president of Venezuela. How about that?
Well, technically, she won the election probably,
Probably.
at some level, and so it's arguable that she isn't already the president.
Hmm.
But we'll go in there. Again, um, everything that's about to happen, and I've told your audience this before. Um, the most important thing Trump will do in his entire time in public office is declare a national election emergency and then take actions related to that. And it's not just for the United States. It's for all these other countries around the world who similarly have people in office that are not the will of their people. They're there through election fraud, counterfeit ballots, electronic and paper. And so, starting where it all started with the electronic machine, Smartmatic, and everything since,
Yeah.
um, in Venezuela makes sense. That's where the core of the cancer is. And then
Hmm.
moving out from there. Doesn't that make sense to you?
Yeah. I think so. And it all kind of, filters back to Colorado, who had Venezuelan gangs there. We talked about that last time we were on. And
Mm-hmm.
also, the election fraud. And of course we have Tina Peters there. So it's all seems to be one big fell swoop thing that might be happening soon. So,
Well, let me tell you on Tina Peters.
oh, good. Mhm.
Just to race through some of this stuff. Um, Tina was put back in solitary yesterday. I don't know if your viewers know this. She was put back in solitary yesterday for her own safety. Then, allegedly, yeah. And then my supervisor was making sure I got everything in. Um,
Yeah, mine does that with me sometimes too.
I'll get the frantic hand signal I have to mute, and then I'll get an extra piece of something, and I'll put it back on. When you're at a switchboard, it's easy to just hit the mute switch, the mute button. You can
Yeah.
get something, go right back at it, right? But anyway, no. So she's put back in solitary, and you have to understand solitary. Um, they have light on there, and it's not a dim light. They got this, 190,000 watt light bulb in there, cameras so that you can't kill yourself. And it's on 24/7. You get fed through a slot in the door. And then in Tina's particular situation, she is allowed to go out for 2 hours and then use her computer. But the rest of the time, she's just sitting there in her cell, looking at the walls, and she's pissed. And in a certain way, um, uh, let me just tell you that to me, that was a good thing. She was, she's not really able to eat. She doesn't feel well. She's coughing. She's cold. The cell is cold. She's just as miserable as can be. The cough has gone kind of to a raspy, deeper cough that is not just cough or cold, and she's a lung cancer survivor. She thinks it may be back and like that. But um, she had to do a drug test the other day because they randomly picked her for another drug test. Amazing. She gets picked more than any other inmate. And like she's, getting her meth, out of somebody's house that just came in or whatever. Right. So she uh, went to go do this. She have to report when you get there. Amazingly, nobody's ready to take your drug test. They have to have guards that move you. They get you over there. You're going to do your drug test. They sit you there for, 3, 4, 5 hours. No chairs. You got to sit on the concrete floor or something. And then you finally get to the drug test. Well, by the time they get to her, uh, she can't, didn't have anything to pee. She's dehydrated. She can't even get enough spittle to satisfy him. She's trying to spit, and it's just as dry as could be. And so she's dehydrated. Well, when people get dehydrated like that, especially older people, you can have a stroke. You can have a heart attack that's, because you're dehydrated. When you're that dehydrated, there should be some, okay, this is an indicator we got to do something more or whatever. And so then they were pissed at her about that. Um, like she's somehow resisting what they want to do. And uh, then the other thing that happened when they threw her into solitary yesterday, and I know a lot of people have kind of mentioned this out there, but they didn't get this one little extra detail. If they're going to move her or do something else, they'll let her have time to pack her stuff up and put it in storage or whatever, because she's not going to be in her cell. Somebody else is there. And by the way, the cell she was in is like 5 by 9. Literally, only there's two inmates in there, upper lower bed, and only one person can be standing up at a time. One person has to be laying down. It used to be where they had a washer dryer, and so she's in this moldy room that's the smallest room in their cell block. And that's where she's assigned with this other person, bumping into each other.
Wow.
But then what happens next is she doesn't get to pack her stuff up. Everywhere else she's at, she packs her own stuff up. The guards came in and packed up all of her stuff. And so, in other words, she didn't get to pack it up. Is she being moved somewhere?
Yeah.
Are they planning on keeping her in solitary permanently? You don't get the same stuff in solitary you do out in the rest, areas. And so, it's just bizarre. Now, here's the other thing that I will tell you. Um, for anybody out there and they're cussing and swearing and beating their fist in the air, Trump, blah, blah, blah. Listen, President knows in excruciating detail what the situation is with Tina right now and is praying for her. It's like Nebuchadnezzar outside the lion's den when Daniel's in there and praying through the night, Daniel, are you okay? Yes, an angel came and shut the mouths of the lions. I lived through the night. Um, I know that Trump is sweating bullets for Tina, but when Tina got so pissed, got her blood pressure up, um, that kind of fight helps you just to hang on a little bit longer. She may be despondent and everything else. They're still fighting her. She's pissed off. And uh, Trump is working diligent. Um, uh, Trump is working diligently, but he cannot blow certain other moves that he has in place.
Yeah.
And as much as it sounds like he should just do this or that or something else, well, for those that, there may be other stuff he could do. It doesn't mean that it's without consequences or doesn't have other ramifications. Or even in any sport, if you telegraph your next moves too precisely, the other team anticipates and goes and blocks you off. It's this art of war, and you have to kind of dodge and dive and everything else. Now, I can tell you that I know what the next move is. I'm very comfortable, but nobody in the mainstream and nobody at Congress and nobody of President Trump's enemies is actually listening to us because they don't think it's really possible precisely. But Trump is going to sign a national emergency order related to elections. Even when I've told your audience and others that this is imminent,
Mm-hmm.
they haven't actually grasped the full magnitude of this. As I've said, this crisis is worldwide. Now, we've got Maria out of harm's way. We know other countries where drama has happened: South Korea, South Africa, other countries across South America, Brazil, etc., where election manipulation has been occurring. It's not just the presidents and governors and things like that. It's all down the ballot. Here in America, seriously, okay, you can be as left as you want to be. You can be as off the rocks as you want to be. As messed up as Los Angeles is at some level, do you really think Los Angeles, which was a very red county, Los Angeles County back in the Reagan era and stuff like that, do you really think that Los Angeles County elected a mayor, Karen Bass, the one who was presiding when the fires happened at Palisades? Do you really think that LA County had lost it that much that they elected a person who was going to rallies in Cuba, illegally, I might add, and praising Fidel Castro as this amazing, great leader? Oh, fearless leader, I love you. Oh, you're so wonderful. Stand out there in the beating sun for 4 hours to listen to his stupid ass speech where he's mumbling over all his words. Okay. But he's the greatest. And then the people of LA hire her to be their mayor. Are you serious? Come on, man. They didn't elect her. That was vote fraud. In fact, the recount or the recall of Newsom, uh, by the way, we have the data. We know the truth. Newsom was recalled. Watch what happens. So, in the context of a national election emergency, which Trump will sign. Remember when he signed the national emergency related to COVID? And then 2 days later, he did that on March 13th of 2020. 2 days later, he goes to Cheyenne Mountain, does a walkthrough. They've been working on it for a couple of years, revamping it, renewing it, rebuilding it. He asked the general there, did you get everything you needed? Is everything in place? Is there anything you haven't got now? And the general says, nope, we have everything we asked for. It's all installed. It's there, all resupplied and everything else. So Trump turns around, walks over to the microphones with all the international media there. This is 2 days after he signed the COVID crisis stuff. So everybody's watching every move he makes, goes out to Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado. And he goes to the press and he says, out of an abundance of caution, because we may just have been attacked. We may even be at war right now and not realize it yet. So out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to order that the mountain be shut up. In fact, I just ordered it a moment ago, and they're shutting it up as we speak. Okay? So Biden says, no, we're opening the mountain back up during his term. Oh, really? Did the mountain ever actually open up? It's never been opened up. Trump had all those generals gathered in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And then the key moment in his whole speech, he's getting all of these people, why in the world did he drag them all out there? What was the point of that? What was it, just a cheer rally meeting with the generals or whatever? They called them from all their commands all over the world, get your ass in here. And then he's standing there and he says, I am 45, 46, and 47. And you got generals keeping their heads just straight forward, rolling their eyes in their head, looking at their buddies next to them, nudging them with a little teeny nudge, the tiniest nudge you have. Did you just hear what he just said? Did you hear what that lunatic just said? What the fuck is he talking about? He's 46. Well, they never got nuclear command, nuclear and beyond. Okay. That's what a Q clearance is all about. It's an energy department clearance, by the way, not a Department of Defense. Well, he's saying around the Pentagon. No, let those guys run that shit. He's running the more important stuff. Who has the bigger gun? Whoever's got nuclear. So now Trump is about to do the most important thing that he will do during his entire time in public office since he came out into the government side of operations. And he's going to declare a national emergency related to elections. Brace yourselves. All the things that everybody here has been, why does he do this? Well, he could just do that. He could do this other thing. He arrest those people. He could get Tina out. He could do this other. Watch what the fuck happens next. Because it's far broader. He'll be operating in his role as commander in chief, not merely president. And when he does that, there's things that need to be done all over the world because it was foreign interference in our elections. Those locations from which the foreign interference occurred need to be dealt with, like the server farm in Serbia, which is half owned by Brennan, former director of CIA, and the wealthiest man in Serbia. Co-own that property. Other locations. And by the way, Cuba's in here. You think Cuba's going to be able to skate free? Maduro got offered a little offer. He could go to a tropical location with the palm trees, enjoy the rest of his life, have his gazillion dollars he's ripped off the people with, and live. But he didn't take the choice. Clock's already expired. He's there for the duration. So Maduro's about to have a bad hair day. He can either be taken into custody and probably spend the rest of his natural life at some facility that we've arranged for him, or he can get to judgment sooner, go to a higher court, the great white throne judgment awaits, and he can sit in a hellish cell in the meantime until he gets called for his divine appointment. But it's about to happen. And when you think of election crisis within a national emergency, yeah, you can do stuff over at the Justice Department. You can do all these various things. Justice Department isn't going to be arresting the Clintons or the Obamas in a national election emergency, and where they've contributed and done treasonous things trying to block Trump's first presidency and to steal the election in the second. You think they're going to go to some detention center and get brought before a judge and get out on personal recognizance and bail and get to go sit over there in England or any of these other countries they supposedly are going to go to? Are you kidding me? You think that guy is that lame? Watch. Drama is just ahead. Look at what happened today in the silver markets. I told your listeners the other day, brace yourselves, it's going significantly up. Radically more than gold did over the last week. Okay, radically more than other stuff. The cryptos, struggling to hold at 90,000. Okay, silver up 10% in a week and headed further north. Today people are like, oh my gosh, it is real. Juan knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah,
what's the
pushed over
reason?
$61 a day, so probably heading for 70 plus.
Yes, exactly as I said. Okay. So, but think about this, Michael.
Mhm.
What's causing that precisely? There's all sorts of pressure. Is it the financial stuff? Is it, by the way, silver made a hard move this morning after the weekend, way before any news was out there about what was going on in Venezuela
Ah,
and the aircraft going in. Why? Because people anticipate behind the scenes. People know, they call their relative. Yeah, it's going to be on, man. We just evacuated the person that we're going to help get into the office of the presidency. It was who take out Maduro.
nice.
Okay, what's the other shoe that's going to fall? The rest of the fight and other locations. Remember, Ramaphosa is trying to come up against Trump. Next on the list, after we get Venezuela halfway under our belts, go deal with the Franken dictator over there in South Africa. The election machine system out of Serbia, before it was used in the U.S. 2020 election, gosh, you got to test this thing because they moved out of Venezuela to go to Serbia and they had to make sure everything's working right. So where was it used? It was used a year earlier. So they had plenty of time to work out any bugs, whistles, whatever it is they needed. They went over to Franken, South Africa, and cooked that election. Ramaphosa isn't in there legally.
Hmm.
He's in there through fraud. All of those billionaires that are doing all the mining up in Congo and other places and literally gutting the South African economy. Mercedes, uh, you know, they're leaving. Goodyear picked up and left, just closed up the doors overnight. That was one of their biggest industries there. The whole place is getting, gutted because they changed these laws, trying to, have reverse discrimination, with the blacks like that. And so they call them coloreds
overnight.
in
No,
South Africa.
that was when they're
So the drama ahead, bro. I mean, it's going to be so the metals and the financial stuff. We haven't even got to kicking the Brits in the ass on the financial stuff. So it's just getting rolling right now. So anyway, somebody brought me something cool here. So
Yummy. Yummy.
yeah, it's got let's see what's on there. It's got a there you go. Rod gochujang. Oh, that's an olive. I thought it was a whatever walnut. So it looks good.
Walnuts. Okay. I thought it might have been caviar, but yeah.
Yeah, that would work too.
So yeah, that's very interesting. You seem to be close to the action there. I don't know that tropical island. I was in Aruba a few years ago, so great place right off the coast of Venezuela. So who knows of what's going to happen there in Venezuela. But do you really think that we're going to like hammer them, or we're just going to get Maduro out and then it's going to be turn over to uh, somebody that's going to take Venezuela in the right direction?
Well, the one thing that I think people have to understand, we made a $50 million bounty for a reason.
Mhm.
Who's going to collect on that? Uh, it's not going to be the maid at Maduro's mansion. It's going to be a general or a combination of generals that are protecting him. And they will have to, you know what it was like when we went into Iraq or Afghanistan.
Right.
We had, black SUVs with the team members. And I remember one of my guys there, they had a C-17 came in, had just piles of cash in these duffel bags
Yep.
and 5 million a bag.
Hmm.
And so they're supposed to go out and deliver them to all the warlords and generals and all that.
Right.
And so they're out on the tarmac, engines running on the plane because it's a hot drop. They're going to get everything out, and they're going to leave immediately. They don't want to sit on the runway. So they're loading up these Suburbans, and one of the Suburbans ahead of them, because he had a little bit bigger player in there, they couldn't take. I think it was 12 of duffel bags, 5 million apiece, $60 million.
Wow.
But they had a bigger member, so they only took 11, if I remember the numbers right.
Mhm.
And the next one, they're trying to put in one more duffel bag, and this loadmaster on the C-17 is out there trying to supervise, get this on there. And one of the operators says, F no, we are not taking 13 duffel bags. I will not, I can't operate safely with one more duffel bag because you have to have room to maneuver if you get attacked or anything, even if you're in an armored rig, right?
Yep.
So he throws it out. The loadmaster is saying, no, no, no. They leave a duffel bag on the tarmac. He said, I can't take this back. I don't have authority. I'm supposed to leave it off. You guys are supposed to take so many. Those guys in that other SUV should have taken the other duffel bag. And the plane's rolling down the runway. The guy gets in it. They're closing up the ramp. And the guys in the truck drive off. There's $5 million in a duffel bag sitting in the middle of the runway.
Damn.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that is what's worth more, my life or that stupid duffel bag with $5 million of
Yeah.
fiat cash, right? And, but they'll use that money to buy friends. And that 50 million, if there's one of the generals, there's one of the politicians close to Maduro or, the accountant, whoever decides they want to live comfortably somewhere, they can give that extra piece of information that allows them to be taken safely, or some combination of the guys, which is more likely. We all get 5 million each. Here's Maduro, and we'll help you with resettling the country, or we'll leave the country. Can you send a jet to pick us up right now? And I got the wife and kids. um, that's what'll happen. They'll take the deal. And if they don't, there'll be a hot flash somewhere and that'll be the end of Murder. He can go comfortably, see justice here or see justice in the next world, and that's going to be, you're just taking it to a higher court, enjoy the show.
Interesting. Yeah. So, what do you think the time frame for it is? Is it very close?
It's very, very close.
Yeah.
So, um, dealing with the look, Trump has been holding on the Tina situation, my opinion, for that emergency, national security emergency order. Then he won't probably do it at the exact same time. It'll be probably 24 to 48 hours later that he will declare um, or issue the executive order related to it because he wants to let the uh, press assemble, let the diners assemble. And then when he signs the executive order concerning how the 2026 election is going to be done, whether it's a couple of days or a week or two later, I think it'll be a couple of days, uh, that sets the tone for everything else because what is first you need to have the discussion why a national emergency. Well, the elections were frauded. 2020, it's not
It's not
over yet.
over.
And the matador in the last 5 minutes of round three, the megador shows up. It's going to be epic. I mean, in a bullfight, you have to tire the bull out in order to get the head dropped down. See, when the head's down like this, what happens is it splits the shoulder blades out. They get wider. And you can't kill the bull with the sword through the chest. You can't get it from the neck. You weaken the bull, you weaken the shoulders in a bullfight by the toreadors get in there and they do things to weaken the bull in the shoulder area. Then, as the head gets down, which is the most dangerous part of the bullfight, when the head's down, that's where you find all these bullfighters end up getting killed. It's not early when the head's high and they're prancing around and have a lot of energy to charge. As they get weaker and more tired, the head gets down. And then they just are so tired, they just move the head back and forth and catch a bullfighter with a horn. You'll see them get flipped in the air and like that. And they can literally, because of right where they're at, they'll get a femoral artery oftentimes, and the bullfighter's dead in less than a minute. So this is the most dangerous part of the bullfight because you have to get close enough to the bull to bring the sword in right between the shoulder blades straight to the heart. And when you do that, then you get a clean, quick kill. And but as the bullfight goes on, bulls aren't marathon runners. And so they get tired and tired. A bull sometimes just lay down in front haunches and just lay down. They're so exhausted. So the bullfighter, a lot of times they'll get down on one knee, both knees, bait the bull to come get them, to do one more charge. And when they do that and the head's down because it's so exhausted, that's when the bullfighter can kill the bull. And so that's the whole thing about a bullfight. Trump is getting the timing precisely right. The most important thing he'll do in public office is this emergency order regarding elections. It's the most important thing, but the timing, is so crucial. And once you go to that national emergency related to elections, and then you do the executive order concerning all the criteria how the election is going to have to be done, have to start from scratch on the voter rolls. You have to go re-register to vote, no existing voter rolls used, and you have to do it with government issued ID. And then you show where you live, verify that, and sign on the dotted line under penalty of perjury that the information you're giving is true. And the person that receives countersigns it is the any of the clerks within a county vote registration system, and they're all notaries. So they notarize your signature on your voter registration card. Now they can even do that on the day of the election, but there's not going to be any mail-in ballots except in extremely limited extreme situations and for military. No votes counted late that come in after election day. And then 1 day vote. Trump has said maybe 2 days. We'll see how he does that. I think it's going to be a 1 day vote. Uh, uh, Day vote counted where cast, and then how he does that. 1 day vote counted where cast, precincts of 1,500 or less, no drop boxes. And the counted where casting is important because they're not trying to transport in the trunk of a police car, supposedly a magic act, it's safe, whatever. No, you're gonna have a real vote, the real people are going to show up and win. When that happens, the country's going to go deep red. Okay. And you've just killed all the
Yep.
bullshit related to elections. And so, forget the bullshit. Just kill the bull. And that's what Trump's going to do. He's going to kill the bullshit maker. And that's what they can't stand. It's the most important thing he'll do in public office. So he'll sign the national election emergency, just like he did the COVID emergency. Then there will be steps that follow, such as the executive order concerning how the votes run, other executive orders and executive actions related to Venezuela, Serbia, other locations. And then, how many times have you and I got beaten up to the moon? I haven't seen anybody getting arrested yet. Nobody's going to Gitmo. Nothing's happening. Well, when you do it in the context of this national election emergency, now you can go out and start picking people up and not go through normal uh, uh, law enforcement operations of Justice Department, etc., where there has been treasonous, traitorous activity related to election fraud and people being in office under fraudulent circumstances through frauded elections. If Trump says he's 46, oh well, if you're 46, then who who screwed with things to make it so somebody else got to it that wasn't the right person? Who all was in on that? Uh, they got a lot of space over at Gitmo. When they run out of space there, you got a lot of space over at Guam. It's even bigger. Oh my gosh, what they've been doing at Guam. Oh man, you have no idea. And then you got Diego Garcia. You got a couple other spots around the place.
Wow.
Um, if we're really pissed with somebody, we won't send them to Antarctica. That'd be paradise. But we got places in Arctic locations that will, we might even do a little bit of jet fuel therapy, with a little diesel thrown in and around. We'll rotate them around once in a while if we feel like it. Um, See how that feels. So it's gonna be pretty amazing, and those arrests will follow within the context of this national emergency. And then finally, the last part of this that everybody needs to be aware of. The real fight domestically is you have a whole bunch of players in public office in certain agencies who their allegiance isn't specifically to that agency or even to the United States government as such. They're in a continuity and government operations, senior executive service, and they're the shadow government. Every time Cheney had a fake heart attack, oh, and then they ask him a question. Well, I was actually running the shadow government. He's laughing about it, but he's actually serious helping do stuff over at SES. You have senators, congressmen, judges, all on the payroll of senior executive service, continuity and government operation, as though they supposedly are there to maintain peace and order and blah 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 between elected administrations. Well, they're acting like because Trump was supposedly put in office by the Russians, that they're totally justified in defying anything he says and doing it. Well, it's projection. It's the exact opposite.
Wow. That's
So,
how they did that.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
Wow.
And they've been playing this. This goes back.
That's how they
Uh,
took out JFK because he was talking to the Russians.
that's right. And, build the tunnel up there in Alaska. Okay. And, or the bridge or whatever you want to call it. It would have been a tunnel. But the short version, too, on that is this. When Frank Church was a congressman from Idaho, and he led a group that wanted to bring to light some of the misdeeds that were going on with the CIA and things that were happening around Nixon and what the CIA was doing, trying to start and execute a war, for example, in Indonesia. The allegations at the time that were being fought, they were going from South America and moving over to Indonesia, and they never fully got to Indonesia because it was too fresh with Vietnam and like that. But CIA, what Obama's mama was doing, Stanley Ann Dunham, she was helping to document the population, the bloodlines, the families, and their political ties across Indonesia in the mid 60s. And then they had this huge blow up in Indonesia. And depending on which historian you're reading, between 1 and 5 million people were killed across Indonesia when you switched from Suharto to Sukarno, the two presidents. And Suharto said at a certain moment that Sabud, a religious organization, which Obama's mama belonged to, was actually a CIA front. And they were trying to uh, remove him from the presidency, covertly affect the elections, and then put Sukarno into office. And of course, that's what did happen, but it cost, depending on who you talk to, 1 to 5 million people dead
Jeez.
to get that done. And, again, election fraud going all the way back then, with CIA involved in other countries, all the banana republics across South America. Well, Frank Church had the church committee hearings in Washington, D.C., and that's when all the family jewels were exposed over at CIA and stuff that they'd been involved in, all the mischief they were involved in. And so, with that in mind, uh, the hearings were closed soon enough. We didn't even get into the worst of it. That's when we heard about drug testing on civilians and, LSD and things like that to see what would happen with individuals and small populations. There's stuff that has still not been brought forward. I was in a meeting, dinner in 75. And one of the people present was a person that was involved in the Disneyland stuff and Club 33. And he was describing a situation then where they had drugged half the people at this dinner, and the other half were there watching how people acted and reacted to note it. And uh, I apologize. I got a call coming in. Let me just send this to, and I apologize on that. Um, Anyway, he was describing how they did a whole group with an LA thing, and that one of the women had a horrible reaction. She wasn't as big as a lot of the other people. She was very slight, very small, and the dose appeared to have been higher than she got, and nearly killed her. And she was on a trip for days before she finally came back to her senses. That was all done by CIA. There's lots of stuff we still haven't heard, and of course, um, uh, that's part of the stuff with the Snowden stuff more recently, and even stuff going into WikiLeaks like that. So we have a lot of disclosures yet ahead of us. But in the Carter administration, in the aftermath of the Church Committee hearings, George Bush Sr. was still head of the CIA there, a businessman. He'd been over in China as our business liaison because we didn't have an ambassador to China under Nixon. He comes back and, oh, that's fantastic. I just got a piece of very important news that I can't tell you. So then, as we came out of the Church Committee hearings, George Bush is director of CIA. He's the one that leads the way to get two executive orders that protect intelligence covert operations going out in the future. And the first one was the creation of the Inspector General's office, which controls the flow of money, and turns on the spigot or turns off the spigot at all these various government agencies. And that's, it's done by executive order, create this Inspector General's office, supposedly control the intelligence and military industrial complex and all that. Then the second thing is They create the Senior Executive Service, which is about continuity in government. And of course, the question being, Nixon, when he was having to be taken out of office, uh, and General Haig, remember, I'm in charge here. Things
Oh,
like that, Kennedy assassination, whatever, different things. Who's actually running things in some type of a crisis event for attack? And so, Senior Executive Service was to build out an infrastructure in the background that if something horrid happened or between elections, as one group is going out and another group's coming in, they'd maintain continuity in government between these elected civilian operations. And Senior Executive Service has completely gone off the rails. Unknown budget. They can pay anybody any amount of money they want. They managed the creation of Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg's a DARPA operation, LifeLog. And he was handed on a silver platter. He didn't create Facebook. And by the way, Bitcoin is a creation of DARPA. When there was so much money in Facebook, this black bag operation with this cheesy player, the director, owner, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, Zuckerberg's wife, Chinese, is even wealthier than he is. Think about that for a minute. But um, uh, they had to bleed some of the money out of Facebook somewhere. So they had this supposed trial. Remember how Zuckerberg was like not even paying attention? He's drawing, scribbling, care less. Why? Because he knew it was all put on. The Winklevoss brothers, who supposedly also invented Facebook, look, if Zuckerberg didn't invent it, it was DARPA. The Winklevoss twins couldn't have invented it. And so what's going on here? Well, they needed money for their Bitcoin mining operations. So they got a payoff from Facebook, all legit. Then they go up to George Washington, buy a bunch of operations, the DoD thing, and allegedly are doing mining, getting paid to mine. And by the way, for this backup power supply system for the Grand Coulee Dam system. The short version of all of that is that these operations, Inspector General's office and Senior Executive Service, were funding and channeling money, turning the spigot on and off for these operations that were really the hijacking of the helm of the ship of state of America. And uh, uh, they have become so powerful that the only way to stop them, as I've told your audience before, but it bears repeating right now, there will be a face-off, and there will be allegedly missiles flying, just like you had in Hawaii, most likely, where the computer systems had to scram, and then on an emergency basis, over an hour, twice, downloaded from all the federal and military computers everything that they had, including during that hour, back to a mainland location within the NORAD defense system, and including all of the access codes, including for special access projects, as though the people involved may have died. So then you got totally transparent back at NORAD, everything going on. Doesn't matter what your secret code is that you put in, we get it all. Uh, that, I believe, is what happens on the mainland and again out in the islands and other locations around the world in some kind of a missile standoff, Cuban Missile type crisis, where it appears missiles are in the air. And all those systems have to scram. And when they do, it doesn't matter what they've tried to do in the interim, the codes were locked. When Trump sealed up Cheyenne Mountain, which is the core of our missile defense system, everybody in there has a Q clearance. Um, uh, they locked all of those systems in a continuity of government operation to the NORAD side of continuity in government, which goes back to 54 and the beginning of the nuclear age, versus SES, which happened under Carter with the Inspector Generals and the SES 78 and 79, those two executive orders. that hijacked control of the country. Carter was really only a tiny bit better than Biden in that he was a useful tool for these globalista
Useful idiot. Yeah.
to put themselves into the right position. And then you move forward in time. That who managed um, the Oklahoma uh, city building? I think it'll be very readily found to have been SES.
Uh,
Even this
you
fraud.
had mentioned Bill Barr, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Some other stuff about Bill Barr where they're basically they're already getting everything ready to prosecute President Trump before the last election fraud. They're already getting it ready. Wow, he's going to really be held accountable, I guess. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, Bill Barr is within that circle of SIGI, continuity in government, their council and like that. They go by SIGI, and you know, uh, yeah, let's go smoke that SIGI. Um, those people. I mean, I will tell you, um, those people that have hijacked control of the country through various frauds and manipulations, including cooperating with the fraud of the 2020 election and the Russia stuff. They are going to have a rough hair day now for the rest of their lives. Once this executive order is signed, things will change. And, you know, Obama's over there in England kissing up to those guys. By the way, the British Commonwealth side of this continuity and government operation, where these globalists are coordinating their actions, that's Serco. Serco is the equivalent of RSCS and controlling, the intelligence agencies, everything else. And by the way, you probably remember this. A lot of us were like, what in the world are they talking about? This is insane. When they were talking about merging all the intelligence gathering operations into under one roof, which is what happened after 9/11, another SES covered operation. Um, uh, why? Because now you centralized everything. It was easier to
We
to
control.
control stuff, right? So send Matt a note. It'll be there in 5 minutes because they have opening. If you would please. Um, so that's the kind of stuff that's going to come out, and um, think about that under the auspices of continuity in government. 9/11 happened. The Paradise and Palisades fires, Maui, and 100 other fires that you haven't heard the name of that were where very advanced military weapons were used, not just against Americans, but places all over the world for this club's purposes to steal all the money from everybody, everywhere, all the time. Um, this is a much bigger battle, and it's my contention that the most important first real shot across the bow that's going to hit armor, go through a deck plate, in at the waterline, is what Trump's about to do with this emergency executive order. Now, we've been lobbing stuff across the decks. We've been, making big, loud noises and all that. This is the one that hits them in really core places. If you get an honest election, they're toast.
Oh yeah.
You have honest paper ballots, no electronics. Trump is not going to have one machine in this. In fact, one of the big things that we've heard for months, and I actually dealt with one of the groups directly personally and asked for a very specific thing and got what they just damn well wanted to do, which wasn't where we're going. Uh, Hand count paper ballot and all the problems with the machines. And they came back and says, well, all the machines that are currently there are bad and there's nothing else out there, but we came up with one. So we've got a machine that we want to use. Trump, they were opportunistic was Trump's exact words. They wanted to do it their way and they're going to go make a buck, feather their nest through retirement and manage this whole thing. No, just like France. Hand count paper ballot, counted where cast, 1 day vote. Okay. It's about to happen. And that guy right there is about to bring you back to honest elections in America. And once we get ours under control, the rest of the world, it's going to be unbelievable. So anyway, I've got another show I've got to do with my chief of staff here, Matt Meck, and you know, he's doing a fantastic job too. In fact, if you wanted to have him on your show, you might want to ask him about his history back in the Fast and Furious stuff, which is also going to be part of this as we get into going after election integrity and the national election emergency. Fast and Furious is going to come back. Watch what happens.
Wow, that sounds great. Look, I
So,
certainly in the description box, all patriots, gumroad.com, and
yep.
the Jennifer Mack. And
Yeah, and I'm probably going to have to up those silver prices depending on
yeah, I
what's
think
going
you
on in the
are.
market right now. So, I probably won't do it for at least several hours or maybe overnight again. And I do expect silver up there at 70 before it kind of hits the wall this cycle. And I've said that. I said it on your show, weeks and weeks ago.
For the end of
And
the year.
and I said that back when I was in the mid 30s,
Yep.
that the next, we'd get in that 40 range and bounce around there for a bit, and then it was going to break loose and go to 70, and that's where it's at. And even that's not a stop. There's so much pressure within the banking system. And by the way, when the Fed lowers interest rates on Wednesday, as they're most likely to do, everybody believes
Right.
it,
Well,
that will also bring up metals prices. Again, why would sit on these low interest things with all the risk in the markets? Okay, so
all right.
anyway, that's the situation.
Thanks so much for coming in and giving us the update. That's fantastic. Good to
Well, and
hear.
I apologize. This is one of the shorter shows we do. I like to kind of get into all the weeds, but I hope there was enough there for people that, you know, um, uh, I just want everybody kind of understanding the context things, including, you know, we got to pray Tina through this.
Yeah.
She's in a desperate situation. It would be horrid to be that person. And how, you know, she has nothing to hang her hat on. We can't even tell her some of the stuff going on the outside. So she's just got to trust that people have her back and that it's not all just talk. And that's really hard to hang on in that kind of situation. By the way, I sent a letter out to all of my Gumroad customers, on my mailing list Sunday about the Battle of the Bulge
Hmm.
and correlations that I see there with persons and ideas to Tina's situation. And it was put out in a couple places, and they only put about half of it out there. Well, without the end, you don't understand why I'm tying it together the way it is. I'm like, oh my gosh, they were going to bleed it out and get commercials and whatever. I give it for free. Anybody that's been a customer of mine over there, I send an email periodically to.
Yep. Yeah,
And
those
I
are
did that on the Tina Peters thing a little more intensely. Usually, sometimes it goes 6 months or 2 or 3 months, but I've been hard on it over the last several weeks because of the Tina Peters thing. And I apologize. And I sent that out. That article, I hope people will read that. I hope they understand it. And I don't want to even take away some of the stuff that's in there because most people have never heard what I've put in there. And so I want people to think about that and tie it to Tina Peters. We have people, men and women that have made such amazing sacrifices, and Tina has. Let's pray her through this and get her out free and get her healthy again. So
all
there you
right.
go. Love you, bro.
All right. Yeah, Tracy and I love you, and Jen, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll talk to you again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, and by the way, that blanket's over at Jennifer Mack's store.
And that's a great one.
That blanket, I love that blanket.
Yeah, we do
Oh
too.
my gosh, it's so
Our gal.
comfortable. Uh,
Yep.
anyway, all right, bro. We'll talk soon.
All right, bro. Thanks.
All right.